from the U.S. coast. And these Russian warships that are making their way, we're hearing from Russia and from Cuba to the United States. The message is, don't worry. Even though these have nuclear capabilities, this nuclear submarine and all of these warship vessels, they're not carrying any nuclear weapons. You have nothing to worry about. Trust us. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you trust the words of Russia and Cuba as tensions are increasing between Ukraine, NATO, the United States, and Russia? And they're now sending these fleets over. Now, let me know your thoughts, but right now the United States, they are keeping an eye and monitoring these vessels as they make their way. Now, let me know your thoughts. Put a 1 in the comments if you think that this is a thing for concern, or put a 2 if you think no, that this is common. Now, what we're hearing is that this is a regular event that goes on, but at the timing of which this is taking place, there is increased tensions, and a lot of people are on alert right now. The coast is on alert in the United States as these fleets, these warship vessels, these nuclear submarines are making their way to Cuba, which is nearly just 90 miles away from the coast of the United States. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'm seeing the ones beginning to roll in as we're hearing that this is an alert, a warning, breaking news coming out of the U.S. coast, and I'm going to be sharing with you the latest on this, and I'm seeing the ones coming in as people are saying that this is a concern, even though Russia and Cuba are saying, don't worry, the United States, these are just normal drills that we're going to be running as they're sending these nuclear warship capable, nuclear capable warships and submarines down to Cuba from Russia with all the tensions that are increasing. And this coming just after we had heard Putin issue ominous warnings of nuclear threats towards the United States and to NATO. And we heard that they would be positioning to have nuclear potential strikes against the U.S. They'd be moving and positioning different missiles and fleets into various locations, prepping, and we're hearing that there could be potential war that could break out as things are escalating with NATO, and a lot of people are saying that this could equate to World War III. So I'm going to be getting you caught up on the latest, and do me a favor, if you appreciate the updates, take a quick second and hit the like button. I know that this is not what we want to hear, but I'm going to make sure that you get the latest information coming out on this. Also, subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free. I'll keep you up to speed on everything, and additional resources and all articles are referenced in the description for you, so that way you can check them out for yourself. J&E Adventures says famous last words, trust us. Yes. And I'm going to be sharing with you what it is exactly that they're saying to the United States right now, as they're kind of saying, United States, trust us. Even though these are nuclear capable warships that are heading in your direction, there's nothing on board. You do not need to worry. And I saw all the ones pouring in as people were saying, no, they do not trust the words of Russia and Cuba, especially at this time. So let's go ahead and dive right in and get you caught up on the latest. Now, this one's coming out just in the last 48 hours, says Russian Navy vessels, they're going to be docking in Havana. Cuba insists at this time that there is no threat to the United States. Havana says the fleet does not have any nuclear weapons on board, but arrivals come amid rising tensions between the Russia and United States over Ukraine. Now, the article says that there are currently, I said 48 hours. This article actually came out today. 4 Russian vessels, including a nuclear-powered submarine. They will be arriving in Havana next week, Cuban officials have said. Cuba's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said on Thursday that these vessels, none of which will be carrying any nuclear weapons, will dock in the Cuban capital between June 12th and the 17th, assuring that their presence, it does not represent a threat to the U.S. or to the region. Now, this visit corresponds to the historical friendly relations between Cuba and Russian Federation and strictly adheres to the international regulations, says the ministry in a statement. But this unusual deployment of the powerful nuclear submarine Kazan and 3 other naval vessels so close to the United States come amidst tensions over the war in Ukraine. Cuba and the United States are only about 90 miles apart at their closest point. So they're saying that they're bringing these vessels over. They're saying it's going to Cuba. They're only 90 miles away. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin suggested this week that Moscow could take asymmetric steps if Western countries like Germany and the United States were to supply Ukraine with weapons that were then used on Russian soil, which is literally what we've seen over the past week. The United States changing their stance after 2 years, giving Ukraine the ability to use U.S. weapons against Russia, and we literally saw that unfold. Russia saying that the nation that allowed that to happen would be held accountable. And that is when we saw those ominous threats of nuclear war coming out from Russia against NATO and the United States. And we're hearing that they're saying that.
So now we have a wartime president.
We will see what comes out. We've been seeing numerous threats coming out, especially lately. Ugly Bear 90, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. I appreciate that a ton. Jesus is my rock. Thank you for the $5 super chat. She says, hey, Steve, only one I trust is God. Amen to that. Now, the article says that Russian President Vladimir Putin suggested this week that Moscow could take asymmetric steps if the Western countries of Germany and the United States were to supply Ukraine with weapons that were then used on Russian soil. He claimed that the use of these certain weapons, including the use of advanced missile technology, would be tantamount to participating in Russia's war with Ukraine. So they said that they also know that Ukraine does not have the capabilities to do long-range attacks against Russia. If they do this, they said that there will be someone helping them out. And we're hearing that they are now blaming the United States as these weapons are being used against Russia. The U.S. and others, they have stressed that the weapons, they can only be used in border areas from where Russia has launched a series of attacks on Ukraine in recent weeks. Now, a U.S. official told reporters on Wednesday that Russia had plans to send combat vessels into the Caribbean region to conduct naval exercises, noting that while Washington did not see their arrival as threatening, the U.S. Navy, they will be monitoring the exercises that are taking place. So even though Russia and Cuba are saying there's no need for alarm, there are no nuclear weapons aboard these nuclear-capable vessels, the United States Navy, they are watching and monitoring what is taking place in the Caribbean. Now, Cuba's foreign ministry said that in addition to the Kazan, the visiting Russian vessels will include the frigate Gorshakov, the fleet oil tanker Pashin, and the savage tug Nikolai Shiker. Now, I'm probably pronouncing all of those wrong, but these are the ones that are making their way over to Cuba, just 90 miles away from the coast of the United States. During the fleet's arrival at the port of Havana, 21 salvos will be fired from one of the ships as a salute to the nation, which will be reciprocated by an artillery battery of Cuba's Revolutionary Armed Forces, the Foreign Ministry said. Relations between Russia and Cuba have become closer since 2022 meetings between the Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel and Putin. Now, the pair met last month for an annual May 9th military parade on Red Square outside of the Kremlin. During the Cold War, Cuba was an important client state for the Soviet Union. The deployment of the Soviet nuclear missile sites on the island triggered the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, when Washington and Moscow came close to war. The incident led to the U.S. imposing a trade embargo on Cuba, which remains in force still. So this is what's coming out as we're hearing these warnings coming out. And again, let me know your thoughts after reading this. Do you still think, well, one, that this is a concern for the United States and not to trust the words of Cuba and Russia? Or do you think, two, that this is just a normal drill? It just so happens it's unfortunate that it is happening at this time when tensions are escalating. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Put a 1 if you think it is a cause for concern. Put a 2 if you think no, this is just a typical drill, even though the United States Navy is saying they will be monitoring the exercises taking place in the Caribbean because they are concerned with all the tensions that are rising right now between the United States, NATO, Ukraine, and Russia, and especially after the United States, President Joe Biden and the administration flipping their stance after 2 years, now permitting Ukraine to use those weapons, and Russia giving out an ominous warning this week. Now, this one I also shared with you. I'm going to be sharing this with you coming out from Newsweek. Putin issues a new ominous nuclear threat. This coming out 2 days ago. And it says Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned that the possibility of Moscow using nuclear weapons amid the Russia-Ukraine war should not be taken lightly by the West. Putin, who has repeatedly threatened nuclear war in more than 2 years since the Ukraine invasion began, delivered the fresh warning while speaking to senior news editors at a meeting in St. Petersburg on Wednesday, according to Reuters. The Russian president suggested that Western nations, they were wrong to think that Russia will never use its nuclear arsenals, after pointing out that the United States was responsible for dropping 2 atomic bombs on Japan at the end of World War II. Now, for some reason, the West believes that Russia will never use it. We have nuclear doctrine. Look what it says, Putin said, referring to Russia's policy of allowing nuclear usage if the very existence of the state is put under threat. If someone's actions threaten our sovereignty and territorial integrity, we consider it possible for us to use all means at our disposal, he added. This should not be taken lightly or superficially, he said. Now, it is unclear what Putin considers to be a threat to Russia's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The Russia-Ukraine war is already being fought in several regions of Ukraine that Putin claims to have annexed for Russia. Now, Newsweek reached out for comments from Putin's office via email on Wednesday evening. They have not received a response. Again, this was 2 days ago. Putin also suggested on Wednesday, so again, this is all news coming out in the last 48 hours. Putin also suggested on Wednesday that he may soon deploy conventional missiles to areas capable of striking the United States. And so, let me know your thoughts. Is this what we're seeing unfold right now with announcement of the submarines and warships heading to the coast? Or Russia's just claiming this is just exercises, normal drills? But Putin suggested on Wednesday that he would soon deploy conventional missiles to areas capable of striking the United States along with its allies in retaliation for Western nations sending Ukraine weapons that can be used to strike targets in Russia. Thank you so much, Dennis Clark, for the $10 super chat. It says that is too close for comfort. Russia was doing practice drills till they invaded Ukraine. God bless us. Gog and Magog war also approaching as well. Yes, and they're saying that they are taking these vessels within 90 miles of the United States coast. So this is coming right off of the U.S. coast here. And thank you so much for the $10 super chat. I will continue to keep you guys up to date on everything. He went on to say that it was completely crazy for the United States and its allies to suggest that Russia has plans to expand the war to the NATO regions, arguing that such notions are self-defeating for the West. He said, you should not make Russia out to be the enemy. You're only hurting yourselves with this, said Putin. They thought that Russia wanted to attack NATO. Have you gone completely crazy, said Putin. That is as thick as a table. Who came up with this? It's just complete nonsense, total rubbish. Nuclear threats often carry a more ominous tone on Russian state television, where Putin propagandist Vladimir Solovev warned last week that nuclear war was inevitable, while describing efforts to avoid nuclear conflict as weakness. So they're saying they're not trying to avoid it, they are ready. While Putin warned the United States and its allies on Wednesday against making Russia out to be the enemy, his press secretary, Dmitry Petrov, called the United States the enemy. In separate remarks during a press conference on Tuesday, the day before, Peskov told reporters that Russia was now an enemy country for the United States, just as they are for us. He made the remarks while speaking about former American intelligence agent Scott Ritter's claim that the U.S. government blocked him from traveling to Russia. So all of this, as I mentioned, these updates coming out about Russia's stance coming out in the last 48 hours. And then now this article coming out today that Russian Navy vessels, they're going to be just 90 miles off of the U.S. coast, docking in Cuba, both Cuba and Russia, saying to the United States, don't worry, even though this is nuclear-capable warships and submarines, there are no nuclear weapons on board. You have nothing to worry about, but still the U.S. Navy is going to be monitoring the exercises that will be taking place in the Caribbean, as they are only 90 miles away from the U.S. And if they do by chance have these missiles available, which we heard on Wednesday, Putin would be positioning them to be available to strike the U.S. If there are nuclear missiles on board. That could be huge. That could be, something very concerning. So this just coming out today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I see we've almost got 1,400 people on with me live today. Do me a favor, hit that like button. If I could just get 40 more likes, we could have half of the room hitting the like button. Just helps spread this out further. Also subscribe to stay up to date as well. Let's see here. Kenneth is saying no nukes, but EMPs. Yeah, EMPs could take down power grids, just stop any electronic or digital devices. If that were to be detonated, that would wreak a lot of havoc on our society, which is totally dependent on our devices. Biblical war, no escape, says Michael Hansen. America is over as it is written, says Benjamin Daravan Wolf. Mystery Babylon the Great, mother of harlots and abominations of the earth, has fallen, says Manuel Rios. Gog and Magog. So a lot of people saying that they think war is coming. Let me know your thoughts. Is World War III around the corner? If so, put a 3 in the comments. If you think that we're going to be able to avoid this, put a 4. Be curious to see if you think that this is coming. I saw all the ones of people saying that they're very concerned with these moves taking place by Russia. But do you think that this can be avoided, or do you think, no, this is World War III coming? And I see 3s and 4s pouring in left and right, several different ones coming in. Bullets and Gasoline, thank you so much for the $50 super chat. He says, I'm glad I'm the only one thinking about Gog, and I'm glad I'm not the only one thinking about Gog and Magog. Hopefully it doesn't have to happen. Read Ezekiel 13:36-39, Matthew 24:14. Will do. Thank you so much for that super chat, Bullets and Gasoline. And yes, if you are a believer, pray for our world, pray for our nation, pray for everything that's going on right now. It is absolutely incredible. And thank you so much for the support again, Bullets and Gasoline. I appreciate that a ton. I will definitely check out the scriptures. In my house, we read every single day, and we keep up on the scriptures as well. Vincent Medina is saying, yes, it is Bible times. CPLV Vaccine is saying, read Jeremiah chapter 50 and 51. Michael Hassan says, praying will not work. I got to disagree with you, Michael. I believe prayer works. The Army better stay on high alert, says Diana Jolene Martin. Yeah, I think they are. I definitely think with what's going on right now, they are on high alert. They're watching the exercises, monitoring what it is that Russia is actually doing in the Caribbean, making sure that things don't intensify. Somebody else brought up a good point that they said that Russia initially, when they were going to Ukraine, was saying they were just doing exercises. Then they ended up attacking them and going into war. This is kind of the same thing right now. They're saying they're just going for drills and exercises coming to Cuba, 90 miles off the coast of the United States. So we will see.
To do drills in Cuba.
A lot of people saying they think it's the beginning of World War III. I am seeing some force coming in. People saying no, they don't think that this is going to escalate to World War III.
My goodness.
Somebody's asking how many ships. Well, the report coming in is that there is a fleet coming in, 4 Russian vessels, including a nuclear-powered submarine. They will arrive in Havana next week, Cuban officials have said. And they said that none of them are carrying nuclear weapons at this time, even though they have the capabilities. They will be docked in the Cuban capital between June 12th and the 17th. And they're reassuring that their presence does not represent a threat to the United States or to the region. That is what Cuba is saying about the fleet of Russian nuclear-capable vessels on their way. That is a report on them. They said that this visit corresponds to the historically friendly relationship between Cuba and Russia and strictly adheres to the international regulations. So they're saying there is nothing to worry about. However, they're saying that this unusual deployment, though, of powerful nuclear submarines, the Kazan, and these 3 other naval vessels so close to the United States comes amid the tensions that are taking place with the war in Ukraine. And they're saying that Cuba and the U.S., they're only about 90 miles apart at their closest point. So these vessels, they are within 90 miles of the United States. We had just heard those warnings, as I mentioned, of Putin saying that there would potentially be threats, that he would be positioning missiles in locations where they could strike the United States. And it looks like this could be it. It says that he would be taking asymmetrical steps. If Western countries like Germany or the U.S. supplied Ukraine with weapons to attack Russia, and that is literally what we have seen unfold over the course of the past week. So, yeah, it sounds like this could be Russia positioning, and they're just simply saying, no, it's just traditional drills, similar to what we saw with Ukraine. So Very, very intense stuff, you guys. Do me a favor, please hit the like button. If I can get 110 more likes, if you haven't done so yet, it will get us over 1,000. I would appreciate it a ton. Just helps spread this out even further, so more people can get the latest updates as to what's going on. Also, subscribe if you have not done so already. I will keep you up to date. When you subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure that you stay subscribed. I've been hearing that some people have been mysteriously getting unsubscribed, so make sure you stay subscribed, check on it, and hit that notification bell and turn it to all, so that way as soon as updates come out, breaking news, you can be notified right away of what is going on right now. Also, in addition to that, somebody mentioned EMPs. If there are power grid failures, if our power grid systems go down, we've also heard cyber attacks, EMPs. If any of these unfold, I'm providing resources in the description. There is a free guide, step-by-step, what to think about if power grids go down. Also the newsletter, www.steveramnews.com. And also, if you are somebody that you love, depends on medications, lifesavervault.com. We've got pharmacists and doctors in all 50 states. You can go ahead and just click the link, check out the information, see if they're going to be able to help you or not. Just trying to make as many resources available for the community as possible. So check those out, you guys, as well. As tensions are increasing with potential global conflict, there is a lot going on. Jim Younger says we just hit 1,000 likes. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for the support. Trump 2024 says Maria Every Breweiler. Yes. Let me know. Do you think that Trump would do a better job with the foreign relations with what's going on? If you think so, put a 45. If you think no, Biden's would do better, put a 46, or if you think somebody else, put a 47. But I've heard a lot of people saying that they would like to see Trump in there and that they think that he could de-escalate the situation much faster. Yeah, I see Chris saying that YouTube has unsubbed him from several channels. Interesting. I don't understand why that goes on. So just make sure that you stay up on it. If you want to stay up on the news, just keep checking here on the channel. Make sure that you're subbed, because if you're not subbed, then you won't get updates. You won't get the notifications. So you just make sure that you stay subscribed, and then it'll just make sure that you're updated. But yeah, I'm not really sure why that's happening. I've heard several different channels saying that they've been starting to get unsubbed on YouTube. Very, very odd. But I'll continue to do my best to keep you guys up to date on everything. Somebody's saying we need Jesus. I'm seeing a lot of 45s coming in. 46 and a 47. Somebody's saying somebody other than Trump would be better. Wow. Yeah. So we will see, you guys. I will keep you up to date on everything. Wow. Somebody's saying that they get unsubbed all the time. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that. But I will continue to be here. Steve Ram channel. I will make sure that you guys get updated on everything. And if there's any more developments as to what's unfolding with these subs over in Cuba, 90 miles off the U.S. coast, that have nuclear capabilities, I will keep you guys up to date. Somebody's saying, Steve, thank you for keeping us informed. You are very welcome. Appreciate you guys a ton. Thank you for all the support. And check out the updates as they come out. I will let